On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks are not ready for a play-in game, but they will travel to Sacramento and play that game after the events of today. We'll talk about that and more today. Locked on Mavs.
I'm going to hit a city like that.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs,
Great, Leslie.
your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with it, dogged up.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And joining me, as always, the post-game prodigy from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
We're almost done. We're almost done.
Remember this time last year, we're like, gearing up, Mavs, Clippers. The Mavs should win this one this time.
Yep.
Luka getting his revenge. Here we are.
Here we are.
Today's episode, we'll talk about the Mavs game against the Grizzlies, the final game of the regular season. Daniel Gafford goes off. What do we think about him and maybe his future with the Mavericks? We'll also talk about the West playoff matchups. We know what the bracket it looks like now. We know some of the matchups. So Slightly and I will talk about some of that. We love the NBA too, so we'll talk about those matchups. Well, let's start here slightly. The Dallas Mavericks will fly to Sacramento at some point over the next couple of days. Wednesday, they will play the Sacramento Kings in the 9-10 play-in game. And right now, as the Mavericks are, they are not ready to play in a playoff atmosphere type game. This Mavericks team is just not ready. They have not had enough time. They have been too injured. Some of it is through fault of their own. Some of it is no fault of their own. I don't think they're ready for a playoff atmosphere type game, a winner take all, go and win a game like this. Their offense has not been good enough. Obviously, not a lot of players played today, and so I won't hold this Mavs Grizzlies game against them, the quote-unquote Mavs, quote-unquote Grizzlies. But you can just tell their offense has just not been good enough against some good teams over the last couple of weeks. We haven't seen them healthy, and so I think anything can happen still. They could still win the game, but as I'm looking at it right now, if I had to just guess and look at these two teams side by side, I would say this Mavericks team is just not ready for a play-in game like this.
Yeah, which is just embarrassing to say for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's we know their faults and their flaws as a team. We've talked about this. They haven't won a game against a winning team since the Pistons game, which was all the way back in I don't even remember when that was, March 21st. Like we're nearly a month since then, and the only other time before that, I have to go to the full schedule because it doesn't even pop up on the screen here. I want to say Golden State, February 12th. Is that even possible that's right? And I think it is. I mean, that's they beat two teams with winning records over the last 2 months. Now, the Kings don't have a winning record, so I guess you do have that going for you. But
it's not requirement. So beat team with a winning record is not required to beat the Kings in a play-in, apparently.
It is not required. And I do want to say, and I've feel strongly about this, and the fact that it's my team, I think should give this more credence. The play-in should be adjusted. I know, we're a Mavs podcast. The Mavs do not deserve to be in a postseason this year. They just don't. Neither do the Kings. So I would like for them to look at this and adjust it moving forward, just being honest with you. But yeah, I mean, this is the Kings aren't that great of a team, but Zach LaVine's been incredible lately. 25 points per game over his last 10, 51% from three. DeRozan, 23 points per game. He's been efficient from the floor as well over that stretch. Sabonis is 20 points, 14 rebounds over his last 10 games. My concern is offensively, Zach LaVine gets hot, hits a few threes, DeMar gets going. Where is the offense going to come from for you? Because we've seen pretty poor offensive showings from this team really over the last 2 or 3 months, almost every day.
I'll go back to what you said first. I think that the Mavs perimeter defense is going to be the biggest issue. Trying to slow down, especially jump shooters like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. We've seen jump shooters take the Mavericks to task recently, and we've been excited to see what this Mavs, interior defense is going to look like with the, Anthony Davis, Dereck Lively. We've only seen a couple of games of that, and Lively's been on minutes restriction, and so we just haven't seen what it could really look like. And are they going to be on a minutes restriction in the play-in too? Like, I have no idea what it's going to look like, but we haven't really seen that come together either. And so we've seen these teams just carve them up on the perimeter. And I think that's what Sacramento is going to do to them over and over again. Is just a DeMar DeRozan mid-range pull up. He's just, I can just see him do that over and over again. Zach LaVine, he's hit 7 threes a couple times. Like he can just bomb from 3. And I think that that's just going to carve up the Mavericks. And then Sabonis is going to do his thing down low, mucking it up and making it hard on the Mavericks. And we'll see if the Mavericks can at least slow that part of the Kings game down. But his game is not like scoring 40 every night, right? His game is like Sabonis's game is like facilitating, and it's getting rebounds and just mucking stuff up underneath and things like that. And the Mavs, like, okay, it kind of takes away the Mavs advantage that they should have in that interior defense.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just going to be really interesting because it's a lot of dribble handoffs from Sabonis as well. We know that that's a big part of his game. So the bigs are going to be involved in action almost every single time down the floor. And we'll see how they respond to that. We'll see how they look in terms of, we saw, and they don't have the perimeter guys of Luka Doncic, obviously, but we saw in that game against the Lakers, the Mavs bigs were getting cooked quite a bit out on the perimeter. Yeah. And, you do kind of worry about stuff like that. So, it'll be interesting. It's a 1-game elimination, and anything can happen in a 1-game elimination. We know that. PJ could go 7 of 10 from 3, or
it's in Sacramento. It's not in Oklahoma City.
True, it's not in Oklahoma City. So we have that to worry about. I mean, AD could be knocking down and this has been a tough matchup for AD. AD could be knocking down his mid-range jumpers, and that could dictate the game. I mean, there's a lot that could happen. So you never really know 1-game elimination, but the Mavs won't be favorites, and they shouldn't be favorites. Let's do a Bill Simmons bit. Do they have the lineup? Should we guess the line?
I was going to say, yeah. Let me pull it up, and you go ahead and...
I'll guess Kings 5.5. But actually, I'm going to guess Kings 2.5. I think they'll have the line low, and it should be higher.
Your initial guess was more correct. Kings minus 5.
Okay. All right, that makes more sense to me.
We'll go through and we'll guess the lines on the rest of them in a little later too. I think that's
okay.
Fun. On FanDuel, the Kings. So to recap, the Kings are a 5-point favorite right now as it opens on FanDuel against the Mavericks, which makes sense. That's how I feel right now, and that's why I go back to this team is just not ready to play a game like this and to play against the Kings. And the Kings have not looked like gangbusters either. No. They have been really bad. They have not had a really good season. Matt George of Locked On Kings did an episode the other day where he was laying down at his couch singing, "Oh, the troubles I've seen." Like he's just been struggling to end this season, but they still have, I think, they still have a little bit more cohesion than the Mavericks do right now, and that's why I'm curious about this Mavericks team. The Mavs, we just talked about their defense, but their offense has not been good either. They've really struggled to set up AD and figure out where their offense is coming from. Man, if I have to see a Dinwiddie Hardy backcourt ever again,
I mean, yeah, if that's what we're getting next year, then the franchise might fold. But yeah, I mean, you say that their offensive defense hasn't been good. The Mavs, I mean, since March 1st, it's a pretty solid sample size. We're talking 23 games. Since then, I'm sorry, 30. Wait, am I doing math wrong? I am doing math wrong. It's 20. It's 22 games. 22 games since March 1st. They're 24th in offense and 26th in defense. So they've been one of the worst teams in the entire NBA over that stretch. So yeah, I mean, it's not surprising that the Kings are favorites, even though, since March 1st, they're what? I'm trying to find them on here. They've been bad as well. So it's a mess.
And it's again, some of it is no fault of the Mavericks. They've had so many injuries and have barely gotten guys back and just haven't had time. And then when they have had guys back, they sit them all for a game like this against Memphis. And now you take away an opportunity for you to build some cohesion. But Jason Kidd made a bet in this game against the Grizzlies, and his bet was that health is a bigger advantage than home court. Right? Like he could have gone and tried to win this game. I mean, the Kings went and won their game against the Suns anyway. The Suns sat their guys. So it wouldn't have mattered if the Mavericks won or lost this game against the Grizzlies anyway. But Kidd had to make that choice before he knew the result of the Suns-Kings game. And so I think that he made the bet, all right, health is more important to us than home court advantage. And he kind of got proven right because Brandon Williams went out in this game with an oblique injury right in the middle of the game and only played like scary. 7 minutes. And you just go, man, anybody could go out at any point for this Mavericks team. It just doesn't nothing matters as far as injuries. Brandon Williams has been out for a couple of weeks because he ran out of 2-way games and they just were able to sign him recently. So, and then he comes back and he gets hurt. It's been one of those seasons for the Mavericks. And so their cohesion is just not there. They have not had enough time for this team to gel in the way that this team would need to for them to look optimal.
Yeah. And it's, I can get both arguments for resting guys, not resting guys. today. It's interesting. Look around the league. I mean, the Grizzlies technically had stuff to play for today because if Minnesota were to lose to Utah, they could have hosted the play-in game. They could have been the 7th seed instead of the 8th seed, which, I don't know how much they actually value that. And you saw they rested everyone. It ended up not mattering, but you saw teams across the league take bets on, we need this team to win. I don't think that team's going to win. Let's just rest our guys and make sure that they're healthy. So I get both sides of the argument there. I don't think the team cares all that much about hosting the 9-10 play-in game, to be honest with you. I think that's pretty low on their priority list.
I don't know. You get one more gate check, get one more.
Well, no, because they were going to give out those tickets for free. Remember?
That's true.
So that's why there's
to season ticket holders. I think
the season ticket holders. That's why there's the conspiracy. They take this game on purpose.
Coming up, the Mavericks tanked this game on purpose. No, coming up though, Daniel Gafford does go off in this game against the Grizzlies. What do we think about him and his future? What else do we see in this game? And then we'll get into the West playoff matchups on today's Locked On Mavs. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. It's going to be fun when it comes to NBA playoffs because you have stuff going on all the time. You also have things like the Masters going on and all kinds of other different events. You can play those even if you're in Texas. You can play that on Prize Picks. How does it work? You simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections that you're in, and you're in. You create that lineup, and then boom, you could do a couple more than 2. You can do I think you can do 6, 7. When you combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. So if you combine multiple different sports, you can get up to 2,000 times your cash. That's pretty awesome. Go check it out. See what's available. If you're loving the stars like I am recently, you can put stars plus a Mavs thing for the play-in. You could also do other NBA players. You can throw Luka in there if you want. There's all kinds of different things like that on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's Prize Picks. Run your game. Also brought to you by Wayfair. They got just what you need. Wayfair, spring is here. That means it's home project season. I got some stuff around the house that I'm working on now that the Mavericks are going to take less of my time. Whether you're refreshing a room or tackling a full renovation, Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. You can get all kinds of stuff. I've ordered stuff from Wayfair. I got a drink cabinet from there recently. Shipping was free. It shipped right to my door. I was able to put it together very easily, and it looks awesome. It's a perfect color. It's a perfect size. I knew what size it was going to be because of the different tools that they have to show where it is in your room, things like that. Shipping is fast and free, made so easy. No hauling heavy items from the store, and that's the part. This is just my car's not big enough to carry. It may not be either. Wayfair makes home improvement easy. Get started now. Wayfair.com. WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show throughout the play-in and then into the offseason. You'll want to keep up with the Dallas Mavericks. Did I just say the playoffs?
No, you said play-in and then skip the playoffs.
Skip the playoffs. Throughout the play-in and then into the offseason, you'll want to stay up to date with the Maverick stuff. Subscribe to our Locked On Mavs Insiders. It's our text line if you want to get texts on alerts, any rumor we hear, any kind of signing, any kind of thing like that. We'll also have draft profiles that we'll send out, things like that as we do those. 214-643-8637 to stay up to date and get texts from me and Isaac on all kinds of stuff throughout the offseason that helps support the show as well. And if you've been concerned about if this show needs support or not after the trade, this is a way you can help support the show.
There you go.
We all need support out here.
We do.
We do, where we are. The Mavs needed some kind of support offensively against this Grizzlies team. They scored 22 points in the fourth, 21 points in the third. The Grizzlies built up to a 34-point lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I was like, all right, this is done. I'm flying to Sacramento. This is it. We're done.
Oh, you're going to go?
I think I'm going to go, yeah.
Nice.
I've never been to a playing game, so we might as well just see.
Yeah,
I've also never been to the Golden One Center, so I'm curious.
Once in a lifetime, got to go to the play-in tournament.
I hope it's once in a lifetime and they're in the playoffs next year. Gafford, to me, was the big story of this game against the Grizzlies, where the Grizzlies didn't play anybody either. They had a whole bunch of guys sit. Mavs had a whole bunch of guys sit as well, but Gafford played under 19 minutes, 20 points, 7 boards, 5 offensive boards. Only credited for 2 blocks. I think he had more than that, but he just took advantage of anything down low for the Grizzlies, and it was just good to see how much he's improved as a post player, how much he's improved as a roller. And Gafford, man, he's like the perfect backup center. This is a perfect game where you go, he's playing against all backups, and this is how he looks against playing backups every single game.
Yeah, I mean, this is we've sort of talked about this, where if you were to give awards for every player on the team, Gafford would probably get most improved player for the Mavs this year. Like I've been super impressed with him, his post game, the fact that we saw his best basketball of his career, really, or at least his career as a member of the Mavericks, in that stretch without Luka. So kind of showing that he's not point guard dependent. There is post up skill there. There's stuff he can do to take care of advantage of mismatches, which we've known that about Gafford, but he really was on full display this year, and nice to see him close out the regular season with a good game against this, skeleton Grizz team who had J Huff, who's a good player. I mean, J Huff had 6 blocks tonight. I mean, they started Marvin Bagley today, who went off 25 points for him. So, not the best team performance, but Gafford was pretty solid.
J Huff had a 360 dunk in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good for them this year.
The Grizzlies just have solid players up and down the roster.
Yeah.
Like they just continue to throw out really solid players. And the Mavs, I thought the Mavs had solid players up and down the roster this year, but man, the last couple of games, especially when guys have been out, it just seems like this Mavericks crew has run out of juice. Like you saw it in this game too, where you're just like, man, there's just not a lot going on there. Dinwiddie, 1 of 6 from 3, 1 of 10 from the field in this game. Scored 8 points though, went to the free throw line a couple times, but he played 36 minutes and he missed the last game, but you're still just running your offense through him over and over again. You're like, man, this team just doesn't have any juice. There's no like energy behind them in some of this play, and they're just kind of like sleepwalking through it, which I get at this point in the season.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about, this early in the season after the trade. We came on here, we were commending how hard they played no matter what, and you watched it, and it felt like they should have been much worse than they were. And even though they were winning games, we were like, man, they're playing so hard and they're in these games. And it doesn't feel like they've quit or anything like that. But it does feel like, it was just, it took it all out of them, that stretch. And now you have guys who just spent prolonged periods playing minutes that they're not used to or playing positions they're not used to. And it does feel like now you just see like tired legs. That's kind of what it looks like to me when you play a young team like the Grizzlies, and this was their like G League second squad or whatever, but just getting up and down the court way faster than you. It just feels like, it's that point in the season for this Mavs team.
Yeah, they played 18 games without Anthony Davis after the trade. Right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was insane what they were having to do in the minutes the guys were having to play.
That's like a fourth of the season they played, and they just but then a bunch of guys were out too. It wasn't just AD. Eventually Kyrie went out, and then you had, Lively was out still. Gafford was out time still. Like the role players on this team just had to play wild amount of minutes, had to play outside of their role. And yeah, they gave it all they had. And those are the players that are still like playing in this game, that are still having to go out there. Your Dinwiddies, your Marshalls, your I guess your Hardy, even though he missed some time. Your Daniel Gafford, guys like that. You're just like, man, these guys have been going out there and putting it all out there, and they've tried hard, but it wasn't enough. Brandon Williams, if he misses the play-in game, does that change how you feel about the Mavs against the Kings?
Yeah, actually, I mean, do you think he'd start? He started today, which is a little interesting to me. Maybe it's nothing, but he was in the starting lineup today, I guess.
Over Dinwiddie.
Yep, over Dinwiddie, who Dinwiddie also didn't start a few games ago, where it was Najee in the starting lineup as a point guard. I do wonder if they would throw Brandon Williams out there as a starting point guard. I mean, he started today over Hardy, started today over Spencer Dinwiddie.
Well, and the Kings have started DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Keon Ellis as their backcourt with Keegan Murray and Sabonis as their front court. And so they're starting not really point guards in the backcourt either. And so maybe Kid goes with like the Najee, Clay, PJ, just start big with AD and Lively and just see where that goes at that point. And then he doesn't start a guard at all. Or maybe goes with an Exum just for some movement. But yeah, that's interesting. I do feel, to answer my own question, if Brandon Williams does miss time, I do feel worse about this Mavericks team, because they need his offense. They need his creation. They need his juice. They need him getting to the bucket. They just need that badly.
Absolutely. I mean, it does change the dynamic of the playing game. I believe that as well, which is insane to say, but it's true.
He would have been my pick for most improved Maverick player.
That's fair, because he went from, not being in the league to getting a guaranteed contract. So that's fair.
Yeah, I think he's just gotten better this season. You've seen it. You've seen him impact Mavericks games. You've seen and just like the quick burst of speed he can give you just gives the Mavericks some juice in some way where you just don't have any, you don't have any slasher. Caleb Martin every once in a while give you something. Dinwiddie will give you some north-south stuff. Exum every once in a while. And then you have the post-ups. I mean, an Anthony Davis drive, a PJ Washington drive every once in a while, but and then Najee Marshall a lot. We've talked about his a lot. But you just don't have a consistent threat like that, and you need as many as possible. And Brandon Williams gives you at least one more, and they'll need it. They'll need it in this game.
Absolutely, man. They'll like you said, they just don't have the juice a lot of other places on this roster. Brandon Williams provides that, so we'll see that because that's my concern. Zach LaVine gets hot from three. DeRozan goes on a scoring barrage. How are you answering offensively? Brandon Williams might be the answer.
Yeah, if they go down like 15 at one point, like they went down 13 in this game, and you go, oh man. Then it was 20. Then they brought it back to 13 at halftime. But then it got back to 20. You go, okay, this game's over. They can't score enough to catch up. They're not going to hit enough threes to change this game and to make it a math problem and all that.
Yep.
Coming up, the rest of the West, how did it shake out? What's looming ahead for the Mavericks in maybe a 7-8 game? Then where else do we see the matchups heading? We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Just in Time for FanDuel. All kinds of great stuff, lines and odds that can get you into the game. You can do all kinds of stuff with FanDuel right now. Place your first $5 bet. You get $250 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. If you put it on the Mavericks, or maybe do the Sean Woodley from Locked On Raptors, do the happiness hedge and put the money on the Sacramento Kings -5 to win that play-in game. Then if the Mavericks lose and you're like, then at least you win money with the Kings. Or maybe you want the Mavericks to lose, so put the money on the Mavericks. So then if they win and you're like, I wish the season was over, then at least you won money on it. You can do all kinds of stuff with FanDuel, combine, do parlays, things like that. Check it out at FanDuel. Again, put down $5, you get $250 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com. Check it out and see what's available for you at FanDuel.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly, let's talk about the rest of the West. And let's do it, like you said, let's do guess the lines here a little bit, a la Bill Simmons. So Mavs Kings are still -5. I've been refreshing just in case they change it.
The Brandon Williams news.
Yeah, on Brandon Williams. The other play-in game is Memphis Golden State, which is kind of wild. Opens at what?
I'd say Golden State 5.5.
7.5 for Golden State right now against the Grizzlies.
Feels fair. It's in Golden State, right?
Yeah, Golden State's hosting it. The Grizzlies, they could have gotten 7 if they would have won, and Timberwolves would have lost, but they won their game.
Man, 7.5 is a lot.
It is a lot. That Warriors-Clippers game to me, makes play-in worth it.
Okay, so I agree, and I think that there's a way you could do it to where if your team is close enough, you have the tournament, but I just don't think that some of these 9-10 teams deserve to be playing for a postseason spot, personally.
To me, at that point, it's just one game, and it'll just be fun for that fan base to have something to play for and have something to look towards. I mean, as a Mavericks fan base, the ones that have been telling us, move on from the trade, let's just focus on the team, at least those people have a game to at least focus on and say our season's not just in the tank, because if that would have happened, as soon as the AD trade happens and he goes down with an injury, then the Mavs season is over. They shut everybody down. At least we've had this. I know it's not been great, but at least the fans that want to see Mavs basketball have gotten some fun games and some good games over the last couple of, honestly, like a month and a half.
Yeah.
And the NBA just can't have that much meaningless basketball. We've had a lot of meaningless basketball. Let me be clear. In March, there's a lot of meaningless basketball.
Yes.
But at least you have some that are still going for it. And this Warriors-Clippers game that we saw on Sunday was just so worth it. I mean, it went to overtime. You saw playoff style energy from Steph, from Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Draymond Green for the last shot. Like, just absolutely awesome stuff. And I feel like we've gotten awesome games like that, at least 1 or 2 a night the last couple of weeks or a month here. And I think that's because of the play-in. You're trying to jockey for position and trying to stay out of that play-in.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying, but I don't think some of these teams deserve to be in the postseason. The Clippers-Warriors game today was all-time great. Like, that was maybe the best game of the entire season. So the play-in tournament's good there. And I think you still would have seen a game like that without it, because you're jockeying for seeding and stuff like that. So,
but then it's just matchups. The NBA, like, It's just trying to avoid the Thunder or trying to play a certain team or something like that. The NBA needs the threat of a team that doesn't deserve to be there.
I would say if you're this worried about reaching a point where an entire month you're scared is going to become meaningless basketball for most teams, and maybe it's time to consider cutting that month out.
Oh, I'm with you too. I also think that it just becomes whatever the last month of that season then becomes, right? Like everything.
I agree, but naturally, the more you cut out the schedule, the more important each individual game gets.
By the way, the Mavs broadcast shared this. The 10th seed is 2-6 all time versus the 9th seed.
Never made the playoffs, the 10 seed.
10 seed has never qualified for the playoffs. That means they've never. So the 2 times the 10 seed has beat a 9 seed, they did not go on to beat the 7 or 8. The 9 seed, 3 times they've qualified for the playoffs. The 7 seed is 6-2 against the 8 seed. Just overall there. I thought that was interesting stats there. Basically, the Mavs would be the first team ever if they beat the 9. They'd only be the third 10 seed to ever beat a 9 seed. Then if they, as the 10 seed, beat the 7-8, they'd be the first team ever to make it out. So history is against the Mavericks as well as the Mavericks right now against the Mavericks.
Yeah.
East playing real quick. Okay. Magic Hawks.
Oh God, where's that game at?
In Orlando.
Stinky. I'd go Orlando 4.5.
5. Okay. Orlando -5.
A trend here
on that one. Yeah, the Hawks, man. Their Hawks are frisky. I would pick them in this game probably. They every once in a while they just have some magic.
No pun intended.
Why was there? Oh,
because they're playing the Magic.
Fair.
But you see what I'm saying? Do the Magic? Should the I guess the Hawks have each with that win. They beat the Heat a few nights ago. That crept them up to the 8th spot. So I'm cool with the Hawks being in it, 40 and 42, whatever. What is the other matchup? Heat Bulls. Do we need that? Like you see what I'm saying? Do we?
The Heat have won 30. The Heat have won 37 games this season. You want to guess the line on FanDuel for that one?
Looking at it right now, 1.5. Chicago.
Oh, I've Chicago -1.
Okay. Wow, Chicago favored to beat the Heat. How the mighty have fallen.
The other playoff things that we know Clippers Nuggets now. Like, hey, congrats Nuggets. You get to play this Clippers team with Kawhi Leonard, who's looking amazing right now.
Yep. If you're
Nuggets hosting
back from the future and say Clippers get a full healthy Kawhi Leonard for this postseason, I would greatly consider them as a team that could come out the West.
And Ty Lue coaching against an interim coach for the Nuggets.
True.
What's the line there?
Like for the first game or who wins the series?
Oh, I guess these are games, right? Let's go series.
Oh, this is where my poor gambling comes into play here, but I think the Nuggets would be slightly favored to win. Yeah,
it's -154 for the Nuggets to win that series. So you bet $154 to win $100, and so that's a slight favor right there. Clippers +130.
I feel like that's basically a coin toss, is what Vegas is telling you.
Pretty close.
But I feel like that's a Jokic boost. Like I think that he automatically gives the Nuggets some weight, at least on gambling lines, because people will bet on him. So I kind of feel like the Clippers, in my mind, would be the favorites to win that series. Like I think I'd pick the Clippers.
I need to look up. I mean, we'll do all kinds of. We'll do crossovers. We'll do all kinds of stuff for Locked On NBA and stuff coming up to this. We'll have the squad shows and things like that, and then check out all the other great shows. But yeah, 2-2 this year, Nuggets Clippers.
I never really look at that stuff because you never know who's playing, who's out.
Yeah, you have to dig
trades. Into it. But yeah, I mean, I worry about the Nuggets and those Clippers guards. A little scary.
Yeah, Lakers Timberwolves. I
think Lakers are kind of considerable favorites here, if I had to guess.
It's a little bit more, but it's not much more than the Nuggets. -166.
Interesting. I think the Lakers, I would feel very comfortable if I were a Lakers fan going into the series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Luka versus Rudy Gobert again.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the worst clutch teams in the league versus LeBron and Luka. 4 minutes left in a game, and it's a 2-point game. Who do you have more faith in?
It's an easy way to put that one.
Yeah. Julius Randle or LeBron, if you're going number 2s.
Thunder will play one of Kings, Mavericks, Warriors, Grizzlies.
I mean, that will be a slaughter.
Warriors is the only team that I'm like, all right, maybe it's a 5-6 game series.
Yeah, that would suck if you're the 1 seed and you have to play this Warriors team. Now, Jimmy did. I think it was knee to knee, but Jimmy did bang knees.
He did not look great
with Kawhi there at the end, and that's something to watch. But no, Grizzlies. I think the Thunder could take care of business pretty easily. If it's one of the Kings, Mavs, God bless.
Rockets will play one of Warriors Grizzlies.
If I'm them, I'm praying for the Grizzlies. The Warriors is just tough. Or 1 or 2 seed to get them in round 1 is brutal.
Imagine, you do all this work as the Rockets. You win 52 games. You're second in the West. You're feeling all great. Then you have to play Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler.
I mean, that's and you're like a young team who really, as a team, hasn't been to the playoffs before, and you get this Warriors team that might have more experience than anyone. What is it? Can you look up odds to win the conference? Because I'm sure those with the matchups has been sort of adjusted now.
The Thunders just went up -150 for the Thunder to win it.
Really, that's actually not that high.
But it's still like, the odds are in there. Like they're still the favorite by
yeah.
Lakers +700, so that's a huge gap. This is a massive gap. Warriors +850.
Really?
Yeah,
even
Warriors,
as a play-in team.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nuggets +1,000, Timberwolves +1,300, Clippers +1,700, Rockets +2,500.
Man, I'm shocked by the Clippers being that low. The Rockets being that low is insane. It's the 2 seed.
The 2 seed is below what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams.
It's interesting if you think the Warriors make it, right? Even if you're worried about the play-in, you say to yourself, well, they'd have to beat the Thunder anyway. So even if they get them in round 1 versus the conference finals, like, does it matter?
Might as well get your work done early.
Yeah. Interesting. And I think it's going to be a fantastic postseason. I'm so excited.
Check out Slightly Biased channel. All kinds of great stuff on the NBA all throughout the postseason, streams, all kinds of stuff. We'll also do shows here covering the playoffs and the play-in. Obviously, we'll have a crossover with Locked On Kings at some point. Guys, keep checking in on Locked On Mavs all throughout the play-in and the offseason. We'll continue to have great shows here. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.
Play-in vibes.